Hello folks, this is some guy reporting to you again from inside of your screen, inside of the internet. Somebody get me out of here. I'm here because I have just finished 200 days of making a song a day. And since I had given an update on the 100-day mark of my favorite top 10 songs, I want to offer that as well as give some of my thoughts, overall key feelings of what I've experienced during the last 100 days. So, without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? So last time I did a 4-minute honorable mention. We're not going to do that this time. I think it's because in the beginning I was really attached to the idea of people seeing my views. At this point, I love all my songs, but I'm not really as worried about whether or not people see it. I just want to do this series, and if people see it, great. If not, that's okay. So I'm going to start with one honorable mention, though. We'll start this whole list with our honorable mention, which is day 126.
Wait, you find me way above the clouds, complete my legacy with your animated style. I burnt your ways, but see how they think they're Mighty Mouse, just here to chase bird, live with anything up in their mouth.
It includes AI tech, which was a lot of fun. I thought it was a creative decision. This was around the time that there were the fake Kendrick diss tracks coming out. I went on some website that had AI technology, and I was like, oh, can I make a beat off of this? And I put in the parameters, and it made a beat. And I was thinking, oh, well, I should rap in AI voices over this. And it was just this flow of creativity that I thought was interesting, and I think it resulted in something that was a lot of fun. And I like it whenever I'm able to tap into different sorts of music that I've never thought of doing before. And so that was this experience, and that's why it's number 11, my honorable mention. All right, at number 10 is day 114.
My first breath crying out from being separate. My lungs adjust, blood covering my neck. I try to mimic patterns, witness till it makes sense. Not long before I take my first steps, which turns into me chasing around my preschool friends, pretending we're superheroes, the adventures never end. Then the class begins. They give the kids who master multiplication tables ice cream. I put caramel on mine, happy to finally get released from class. That lecture was so fucking boring.
I chose day 114 because I think it's a brilliant song as far as a concept. I'm mostly saying that, not to, toot my own horn too hard, but the concept wasn't mine. The concept was come up with by my wonderful, brilliant sister. We were at a family gathering, and I was asking about what songs would you guys like to see, and she suggested this song, which is you start out in the verse in your birth. You're rapping your birth, and then with every line you get older and older until you go to your death, and you just go through an entire human life. And although, because it's a longer verse, I don't really like the way I delivered it. I feel like I didn't say the lines emphatically enough. And there's certain things like that that I would like to fix if I were to take the song any further. I think it's a song that has a lot of potential to be like, if I did it right, if I did it justice, that it could be a classic song. And so the template to me is a really, really good song. And if I fine-tune it, I think it could go really far. So that's why I picked number 10 to be day 114. At number 9, I picked day 129.
Not a puzzle, it's a picture, a horizon, a smile for when you're bitter. Your mouth is dry, so here's elixir. Before we realize it's a dream, tell me exactly what you were thinking. I'd rather have you here with me as long as we forget who we are and never listen. Maybe I should have listened. The price of a fresh vision is distance, and I can't keep waiting to see if you'll pick up. That was probably a little too cryptic. It's not my intention, I just want to say words that I'll remember, but also say words that you'll remember. It's not as easy as it sounds. I used to look for people in crowds, now I'm less aware of anyone when everyone's around.
I picked day 129 because I feel like it represented an epiphany that I had in relation to music. You see, with hip-hop, I consume it often like a puzzle. I'll listen to rappers that have like little, oh, they're doing this inner construction of rhymes. I'm looking for that. Oh, they're doing wordplay, and so this has a double meaning. Let me try and figure out all the double meanings. Most people, I think, they're looking for something that's aesthetically pleasing. It's similar to how I consume books. if I'm reading a book, I'm generally not going for a classic. A lot of the time the classics will bore me to tears because it's just a little too complex and it's not really resonating with me. I think that that's how a lot of people feel about like the high-end hip-hop. It's just a little complex, not really resonating, not really potent for an aesthetically pleasing experience. And so I have a line that I start out with, which is, not a puzzle, it's a picture. And I think the whole spirit of the song is captured in that. I'm just trying to naturally come at the listener with just, my heart and being vulnerable, being natural, and I'm not trying to make it this layered pretense of you're going to have to dig through all of this to find out its meaning. And so I think understanding that that's an important thing to try to do, to be able to make artistry that's likely more to touch people, touch a wider scope of people, I think it's a smart thing to do, and that's why I picked this song. So that's number 9. At number 8 is Day 141.
How could it be that you and me did this a second ago? It's almost like we were lost at sea and saw the head of your boat. Tell me the process, follow the leader who caused this. Formation of stars bend, your lattice shape, pressure is constant. Entropy spent to fit, growth to encode the whole globe. The breath mold the men to watch them implode. You ought to catch them, don't know them, you might need direction. I'll open your chest to set your gear until there's no question. I look homeless, sold separate footnotes as go ahead. You push stones, it's Rosetta, misquote to your pleasure, throw pebbles.
So, if you don't already know, Day 141 I was rapping on Rakim's beat. It's been a long time. It was produced by DJ Premier, but it was a Rakim song on his album, The 18th Letter. I explain this because it's not like Paid in Full, or Follow the Leader, or I Ain't No Joke, or any of like the super well-known Rakim songs. So I don't anticipate everybody to know that. But it's a beat that I listened to the song a lot. And then I freestyled for a long time, and I became interested in the beat during that time. And I remember I would sing to it a lot. And so that's one of the things I like about this particular song, this particular day, is that I sang during my performance of it. And I really enjoyed the idea of being able to incorporate singing and rapping into like a boom bap, still in that aesthetic world, and it being really good. And I feel like I performed decently well. And I just like how the song came out. I think that I wouldn't have put Rakim to shame as far as like, I don't think he would be embarrassed by me trying to rap on a song that he's been on by hearing something like this. So that makes me happy. I worked on it very hard to make sure that it wasn't, any sort of embarrassment to the gods. And yeah, it's because I look up so much to artists like Rakim, I had a very strong sentiment to want to make the song really good, but I also wanted to retain that sort of creativity that had been driven in me earlier, that wanted to sing to it. And so I think it's just a good singing song from me, and incorporates a lot of elements that I really like, that I think are unique. So that's why I picked that song. At number 7, we have Day 157.
Derived syllables, right out my sippy cup. Brine getting mixed in the aisle of invisible. My oh, life so conditional. Times told lies so fine, comb it'll poke. Sideshow finds both eyes, broke little molds. Climb so high, no skies shown in a scope. Pinnacle, bury all these seeds in the semen till it creeps through its creases. As a treatment to sweeten every piece wrapped uneven. Shatter average consciousness, patterns for the monolith. Pop up on the posturing, obstinate.
So this song represents another epiphany. A lot of the songs I pick out are going to be representational of epiphanies that I had along the way. It wasn't the first song that I made where I implemented the epiphany, but I feel like it's the one that culminated as much as it could the proper approach. And so what I was realizing was that when I was making songs, there was too fast and loose of a cadence structure. I would basically write out the lyrics, and then I would try to map the lyrics out to the beat before really knowing what the rhythm was going to be. And the problem with that is that it starts to become chaotic. You might just slightly deliver the lyric. If the cadence can be anything, then you start to deliver the rhythm in different ways on different takes, and then there's just I feel like there's way more potential, at least for me, to you fall off the beat. You're not riding the beat anymore. You're off tempo. And it was an important revelation for me, because I would go back through my music and I'd realize there's like big sections where I'm like outside of the pocket. I'm outside of me riding on the beat. And so I didn't want that. And so this song was me taking more of an initiative to be able to have that clear cadence structure. And so ahead of time, I actually mapped out the entire cadence structure. I wrote, specifically just kind of filler lyrics for this song, and but that had very clearly defined cadence structure. And then I came back and I rewrote the lyrics with something that I felt was more meaningful. And that, to me, is going to probably be a very important, just for the rest of my MC career going forward, understanding that cadence structure is so huge to the appreciation of a song, hip-hop song specifically, because it makes it to where you don't feel like you're divorcing yourself from spiritually the journey of hip-hop. Because I feel like a lot of I'm off the beat, I'm kind of just rambling, some really high heady stuff. It's like that's not really as much hip-hop. That's I don't know, I feel like that's almost like acting out the fantasy of hip-hop, but it's not really like embracing the very important part of it, which is guide yourself through the rhythm. Guide yourself through the rhythm, and then whatever can flourish within that rhythm is what you want to see. And so, yeah, I just feel like I know there's a lot of, you've probably seen this with rappers that were popular back in like the 90s, or, I can't think of anyone specifically, but I've heard albums where, there's an older rapper who's past his heyday, and he'll be rapping, and you'll be like, man, this flow he has, this rhythm that he's delivering these lyrics just sounds like I could take a nap to it. Like there's nothing going on there. There's no life there. And I think that's what it was for me more than anything, was like, let me put the life in this, because I don't want my music to be lifeless. And so yeah, that's why I like that song, this song, which is, let me check my list, hang on, as I'm going, day 157, and that makes number 7. Okay, at number 6 is day 152.
Stay safe. I'll stab these vaccines right in my brain. Kidnap your son and rush him off for a sex change. Plots surrounding underage pussy like my name was Drake. In the 1800s, our entertainment was blackface. In 2024, that's actually still the case. Play to the rich massa. Act as ghetto fabulous as you can. White kids buy black ignorance. Teach your owners to dance. I feel your anger. This ain't Kansas, so your answer.
Day 152 was made in response to the Houdini single coming out. It was right around the time that the Houdini single came out. And there were people online, I go on Twitter, and there were people saying, oh, this is offensive. Oh, if Eminem thinks that this offensive style is going to work now, yada, yada, yada. People complaining about his shot at Megan Thee Stallion, which Megan didn't seem to be very bothered by. But, people just making a fuss about it. And I was thinking, like, the Slim Shady LP had songs about him. I'm going to drown myself. Come on, children, join me. You can be just like me. He's in hi, kids. Do you like violence? He's talking directly to children about, like, being very crazy. It was far more shocking of behavior to be in the mainstream public than him being like, hey, you remember that Megan Thee Stallion thing that happened? Well, I just referenced it. Oh, so I was like, okay, well, let me, because that was, a lot of people don't like the whole, I'm going to say shocking things, the shock factor raps. And I can understand why, but I do feel like there's a certain point within art where when art is challenging people's comfort zone, that it's really valuable, and that they're often within artists, when they're willing to be a provocateur, that it creates and encompasses a new way of our culture of looking at things and understanding things, and it helps us question our reality by challenging through the fringes of your art the mainstream society. I just think there's a lot of beauty in that. And so I was like, well, what the hell? Let me see how offensive I can get. And I feel like a lot of the ideas that I had in that song are kind of repurposed ideas that I've already had that I wanted to have a serious dialogue on, but I just shortened it and made it into like more just very quick shots. I also said some things that I absolutely would never do and don't believe, but it's just to draw up the idea of like, oh, he's being crazy. Like the idea of, I said something about a 4-course meal in the Gaza Strip next to like starving children. Obviously, I would never do that. And I'm talking about Gaza because I want people to be aware of the genocide happening against the Palestinian people. But I'm playing this role. I'm playing the Eminem, the Slim Shady role of like, I'm this wild person. I'm being obnoxious. This is what And so you create this scoundrel, this rascal doing crazy things. It's the same thing as in humor. In humor, we make jokes about things that are horridly tragic that you don't want to see happen, but we make humor as a way to be able to unpack the philosophical ramifications of the experience of life existentially. So, I do think it's important to leave in here, I absolutely don't want to see children Gaza starve or be murdered or anything like that. I would love for the occupation of Gaza to end, free Palestine, all of that. But, in art, I do care about creating an experience that feeds into what it's like existentially if you were to be the jester. And I feel like I played that role well. I especially like the aspect of being able to put ad-libs in there. I recorded little ad-libs before I said things, and that was just fantastic. I loved that part of it, because if you listen to the old Slim Shady LP, he would put ad-libs behind his raps all the time. And so I was just trying to mirror that, and that was by far the most fun thing about the experience. It made me want to put ad-libs behind all my songs, but it doesn't always make as much sense in what I create. But I thought it was a well-made song, and I really enjoyed it. So, okay, at number 5 is Day 132.
It happened as it always does. I got too comfortable, thought my high would never come down. Then the fun ran its course, crashed straight in the sun with the taste of his blood. Why'd you make me the one to have to suffer? Thought it was safe, oh no, it wasn't. Played for a sucker laid in the gutter. Break, motherfucker, break. You ain't nothing, all the pain like a love, death, strangers. You just gotta suck it up, made for a straw. Bitch, ain't nothing wrong since you ain't phased at all. Like you ain't take the cross, let me brace for my fall. You keep putting me through this, my heart will harden. The next movement is walking past all your ruin, not a glance at you, fool.
Now, one of the reasons I picked Day 132, similarly to a lot of these picks that I'm making, where I have an epiphany related to an approach that could be better, is I started to feel like a lot of, looking back at the hundreds, the first 100 songs that I did, that there's a lot of like lifeless delivery. I didn't have a lot of life in the delivery. I didn't feel like I was saying my words with much feeling. And the thing is that unless you're going for like a sort of mellow vibe, you want to be able to rap with some feeling. You want to have just like bring people in with the strength of what you're saying, and that's so much more of what's going to be able to get people to want to be part of the experience than, say, what you're even saying a lot of the time. Because, you hear somebody, it's monotone, it's boring. You just lose interest in that. And when I was looking at those earlier songs, I was like, yeah, it's just too monotonous. There was too much of a monotone in it. And I didn't like that. And I picked Day 132 because I feel like on that day I just had a very strong conviction that I needed to kind of roar with my lyrics. I really needed to be like, hit you with, I honestly feel like that's more important than cadence structure, is being able to just like really have a firm delivery in what you're saying to the people, to convince them of your own spirit. You're giving people your spirit in hip-hop so much is what's going on. And so that's why I picked out day 132. It was a day that I did that, and it was one of the first days that I feel like I focused really intently on doing that, intentionally. It was like there were some songs in the past where I feel like I did that, but that just kind of matched the energy of the song. But this one, it was like, I need to have that as a piece of what I'm doing going forward. And that was a very important revelation. I think it's been one of the most important revelation for my music going forward. So that's why I put day 132 at number 5. At number 4 is day 175.
Coming to capture all of my dreams I imagine. What are you after? How are you slaying the dragon? Prep for the rapture, let it all fall with the fashion. Step at the static, freeze all your claims, it's dynamic. Drop my seats, do this. Siamese, fusion. Part of me's Jesus, other parts, Judas. Pardon me, foolish. What I feel's moving, like a blind student. Trust my gut, foodie. What is this fitness? How do you enrich when the plot thick and shipping?
So day 175 is the mumble rap entry, if you will. I have a very interesting relationship with mumble rap. Obviously, when I first heard Tony Montana, I was walking through a parking lot, would have been 2011. I was thinking, what the hell is this? This sounds like trash. Back when I was younger, you know, we're talking about over a decade earlier, and much more judgmental about music. But what I've come to realize in just over the years is that mumble rap is brilliant. Now, what they talk about in mumble rap, the actual subject matter that they speak on, often I could take it or leave it. Often I don't like it. I very specifically am not a fan of what they're talking about. But as far as the micro rhythms, there's a certain level of brilliance taking place in being able to map out where you're going to put your rhythms, where you're going to start to sing, where you're going to fuse this high delivery, you're really putting the delivery in, versus I'm going to do the triplet flow, or I'm going to do like a more staccato flow. There's so much brilliance in mumble rap. It's a very under-tapped, I think. A lot of like the elitist hip-hop people, like I used to be, the elitist hip-hop fans will look at something like that and just say, it's stupid, they're not talking about anything. But they're not listening to all of the aspects of it that are really musical brilliance being executed. And so I took some time, actually. I started listening to like a lot of what's like classified as mumble rap. I was listening to a lot of Future, Young Thug, Ski Mask, Denzel Curry, a lot of other, BK the Ruler. There were artists that was like not very well known that I put in this playlist, and I was just listening to it nonstop because I wanted to get a feel of it. And I think, you know, being able to perform these styles are important. I don't think that I actually did anywhere near the level that I think a lot of these artists do. But I think what I like about day 175 is that it occurred naturally to me to want to do a song like this, and that I think it was able to capture my attempt at it, and I think it was a decent attempt. I thought it was pretty good. And I want to make more songs that incorporate the sort of like new style. I think a lot of people refer to it as SoundCloud rap, but I think that's confusing. I think we know when you're saying, I want to have the aesthetic of like a Future or a Young Thug, you're going with the mumble rap bubble. And that I want to really more master the aesthetic of that, because I think it's a very pleasing aesthetic, and I think that there's a lot of room for it to evolve into being hip-hop, you know, for it being very like underground, lyrical, all of that. And there are people that have already gone into that veil, I would say. But you know, there's no reason to fear it, and there's a lot to learn from it. And so I'm glad that I had the opportunity to give my contribution, and I hope that I have more contributions going forward within that style. So that's my pick for number 4, Day 175. At number 3, I picked Day 109.
The fairy tales fail to tell you about the babies ate by wolves. My ink reversed its mark when pulled across the page. I sent the sentence back to its cage. The newest gimmick is believing in what you say. These fucking children, it's all the same. I chase paraplegics to stay in shape. Don't ask me to ask you what I'm supposed to ask you. We're past that stage. Or are we? It's probably better imagined like a day of farming. The boy raised by food outgrew his teeth, so the formula from here is escape. The escape is confrontation. Shut everything down until I have nothing to do but be afraid. Would you stay alive if the only way to stay alive was eat the people in your face? The social game is 3 cousins away from crucifixion. What's the difference? I'm here building birdhouses for fishes.
The interesting thing about Day 109 is that it's it really was like I'm going to try and do a punchline song. Or, yeah, it's essentially a punchline song. But it's like an intellectual punchline song. You know, I'd been trying to do punchlines for a lot of the hundreds. And, you know, a lot of my writing is me trying to operate off of the punchline. And a lot of what a punchline is usually, I mean, a punchline is just like a line that hits hard. It's just like the idea that the emphasis is on one line as opposed to your whole lyrics. As opposed to if I'm going, it's like, then that's a bunch of lines that are like a long thing that are significant. Whereas I say, you gotta feel like a papa, you know, then that's a punchline, you know, that's the idea of it. So, you know, I started to think about a lot of artists that I like, and that not all the artists that I like, they don't always do punchlines with wordplay. Sometimes their punchlines, like JIKU does the punchline within like the space of like a truth, like a very strong truth. I remember he had a punchline that said, "A real man shouldn't have to say no homo." Which, that's like a classic example of a JIKU's punchline. I don't agree with that personally. I feel like, I feel like men should be in touch with their sexuality, but I probably totally disagree with JIKU's opinion on sexuality to begin with. So I don't know. But the point of it is that that's like a punchline without any wordplay whatsoever. So you can do that where it's just like a truth, a very heavy truth. I feel like rappers like Big K, the battle rapper Big K, they'll do a lot of punchlines like that, where it's just like such a heavy truth that they're just hitting you with the truth. And then there's, so it's like you got wordplay, and then the old school one is like doing like a little anecdote or like comparison. It's like a simile one. It's like, I remember I said, a mess like Biden breakdancing to remember the time. That's like an old school sort of like people would punchline. They would say like a ludicrous punchline is similar to that, where he says, I've got government officials breathing harder than Darth Vader. Yeah, that's a great one. I love that. But yeah, so there's the anecdote like that. There's wordplay, which a lot of people do now, especially in the battle rap world. Then there's the like really heavy truth. And then there's a fourth one that I really like that's done by like some really heady guys. And that's the witticism. It's where you just say something that's really clever and almost paradoxical. And that to me is what I feel like I was capturing within this song. Like when I had the line, what's the difference? I'm here building bird houses for fishes. It's like, that's interesting. That's just like, it's not a truth, a heavy truth. It's not an anecdote thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to compare these things. It's like this. It's not wordplay. It's a witticism. It's me just being like clever. I'm packing clever sort of commentary, sharp commentary within one line. And there's rappers like Illmac, I feel like, does that a lot. Madflex does that. Everybody Knows, the battle rapper, does that. And a bunch of battle rappers. Open Mike Eagle, I think, does that. And I like that style of punchlining, and it was the first time that I kind of naturally was like, this is how I'm going to write this song. And it came very naturally, and it felt like almost like a rebelliousness to write the song, of just being like, I'm just going to say whatever I feel in this moment, and some of it was like kind of me mocking the listener's experience, if that makes any sense. I don't really know. I just tapped into a space where I was trying to artistically put why I feel like the world is absurd, and then like kind of I was trying to subvert the expectations of what I was supposed to be doing there, and that's what I mean by like mocking the audience. And I had a lot of fun with it. And so that song, just like from a writing perspective, doing punchlines like that, I felt like I tapped into a style of writing that really matches me and that I really enjoyed doing. And so that's why I picked that for number 3. That's Day 109. Okay, so at number 2, we have Day 196.
Slipping into a casket, bad shit, numbness reimagined. Fight to stay alive while the fire and dimple dabbles. Feel my soul go into modes that's super static. Just zap him, stab the light back into this bastard. Oh, I'm here again, here to lubricate with him. One more deformed piece of me to cover up with lips again. Feed the gluttony, their eyes roll right back inside their head. One more bite, you bitch, you better like it. Don't you wipe your bib. Ha-ha, supersonic drills to change your posture. Ollie, ollie, oxen, leave your custom mountain Gotham. Waka, waka, fuck a flame. Yeah, this hardness that you pain, I can't get no hands to it. Same old story, fall asleep, going headfirst off the plank. Woke the sharks that bite my legs. Aye. What you mean you ain't crashing? Burn up the remains.
So what I liked about Day 196, and this is another one where it was like an epiphany song. A lot of epiphany songs. I put, well, you know, for most of the songs I didn't have big epiphanies, but the songs that I put in this list kind of represent points in the journey. They were like checkpoints where I went, oh, this is something that I should be doing going forward. And the same goes with Day 196 is a culmination of a realization I had on Day 182, which there's 6 different songs I have written for this section, but I picked one. I was like, I could put all of these in here, like Day 200, 199, 197, 187, 183, and 182. I nearly picked those over this one. But I was like, I want to just pick one that represents this spirit of this epiphany. And so the epiphany was that, you know, I've been going through this journey, and I want to elaborate on it further after we get through all this. Or maybe I'll put the point where I elaborate in the beginning of the video. I'm still deciding on whether or not that's going to be the case. But I had an epiphany after my views kept fluctuating, and I kept having weird experiences with the viewership, and I just sort of realized that, like, music has to be its own payload. Hip-hop, if you're going to make hip-hop and you're going to be able to sustain the creation of hip-hop, that creation needs to be its own payload. And what I mean by that is that it has to be its own gift to you through its creation. Because if when you make hip-hop, you are waiting for a reception, and that reception's the payload. That you profiting off of the music, you having success in the music, that's where you're going to be able to have this feeling of fulfillment. That you're severely screwing yourself is what I'm starting to find. Because when I started getting more views, I was really intent on, let me make music that will impress the listener. And so there were certain things that I was really hesitant to do. And once the views started fluctuating a lot, and I couldn't really predict whether or not my viewership would drop to 0 views, I was like, oh, well, you know what? I can't be doing it for them anymore. And there were songs that I would make I would put a lot of energy into making it, and then people would just not respond to it. I would get very low views, or if it did get views, it would get low amounts of likes. And I was like, okay, well, you don't want your energy to be like, I did this specifically for you, and you didn't like it. I would much rather the energy be, I did this for myself, and I liked it as soon as I made it. I liked it while I was recording. I liked it while I was writing it. I was laughing to myself. I felt good. And so I kind of entered into this space of like a sort of like childlike indulgence. And there's a lot of like childlike energy in in these songs that I just named, where I'm just doing it for me. It's just like, oh, this is funny to me, or this is fun. I'm having fun now. I'm doing fun things within this to entertain myself on this journey. So, you know, with day 196, I ended up, the song is very playful, and what I'm doing is I'm mapping out first the cadence structure. Like I said, that's the thing that I learned from way earlier on in the series. But the idea is like playful cadence structure. Try and find something that's playful. You know, it feels light and it feels cerebral and it feels like you're playing. So it's making you already immediately feel joy within it. Make it to where you're not actually struggling too much to say the words. If it's too much of a struggle to say the words, just don't do it. It's not worth it. And I'd go a step further. Make it to where all of the words that you're saying within this playful cadence can be said with life, with fire, like I was saying earlier in day 132. It's like the culmination of all of these different things came together into this, which was do it with a very clear, playful, light, rhythmic pattern that's well thought out, well crafted, and enjoyable, playful for me to execute. But then also have it to where it's not too fast. There's a lot of songs that I've recorded that were just, it was too fast, it was too much, and I could barely say the words let alone give them life, give them inflection while doing it. So I've been very mindful to try and have enough of a build where I can give that life to those words. And I really like day 196. I feel like I'm just being crazy in it. I'm enjoying myself. I'm very focused on getting right rhythms as I'm going. I'm making cultural references. It was a lot of fun. I love that song, and that's why it's at number 2 in this list, day 196. So I said I wasn't going to do any honorable mentions. In the stead of honorable mentions, before we get to number 1, I want to talk about some of the most viewed, because I'm showing you all of the days that I really liked. But I want people to also be able to see the ones that you guys really liked. And so I'm going to talk about the ones that had the biggest views, because I had kind of an explosion of views. Not really big explosion, you know, I'm still doing this, you know, relatively unknown. But these views were a lot higher than anything I had gotten thus far, or any music that I've put out to this date. So it's worth noting where I've gotten a decent amount of views from the music that I've made. So first I'd like to mention day 148.
I just woke up to speak. The notes from dreams float on my teeth. Your flow's mean, but I don't know what it means. Noticing insecurities grown from a seed. Screaming you'll make us bleed like a baby crying aimlessly. Hope you know where to hold your peace. There's real enemies, they don't roam your streets. I go overboard to soak in the sea. Forget my name beneath these waves as they rock me to sleep. There's less messages to keep than it seems. Find what excites you.
So day 148 ended up hitting over 1,500 views on TikTok, and a large amount of likes along with it. I'm really pleased with the fact that people are so satisfied with it. I think a lot of what's going on there is that the beat is amazingly charming, which, by the way, all of the beats that I've been rapping to are amazing. I want to shout out a lot of the Roxwell Beats, Dreamy Chillhop, cbakl Beats, and then this gentleman, I think his name is Rorronoa Beats, yeah. And so these guys, they're great. They make great beats. It's such a pleasure to be able to work on these beats, and I'm glad that nobody's really made too large of a fuss of me rapping over their beats. Obviously, I'm not making a nickel off of any of this. I don't have any money. And the moment, if I use one of your beats and I hit 1 million views or hit enough to where it's like, oh, I should monetize this, first thing I'm going to do is hit you guys up and be like, okay, look at this. Let's figure out a split of how we're going to split this, the YouTube money that's going to be made off of this. And then I'm going to re-upload it and, you know, do all the steps. Because I do have a channel that's more built for monetizing. And so, yeah, the day 148, I think I had a very, I think there's aspects of the way that I approached day 148 that were decently charming. I think that, you know, I think I really captured the energy of the beat and the way I approached it. But again, I do feel like the beat is really a large reason why it was as enjoyable to begin with. It's just a beautiful beat. But I think that, you know, starting out talking about sleep, the notes of dreams on my teeth, you know, the cadence that I use for your flow's mean, but I don't know what it means. There was just little things in there that I do think I executed well. And it is a good song generally. I feel like it's a very balanced song. So I'm happy that it got as many views as it did. Out of the YouTube shorts that I had, the one that got the most views out of them is day 133.
See, my dad taught me timing, how to strive with humility and see both sides of the island, but mom fortified me. The reason I stand against every lie with no fear and defiance, the reason I'm a rock in this river of compliance, never budging, never minded, it's never pride. I can happily abide myself as flawed, all that matters is what's right, and that confidence to stand by the side of truth no matter where it moves was my gift from you. Why I'm the man I am right now, the type to believe in my sight, so much I rap for a year straight to reach my light. Don't wanna know where I'd be without you. Tonight we're flying through the starry night sky, catch the tail of a comet and foster its shine.
Day 133 was, I took Kanye's Hey Mama, and I made that song, I rapped over the beat, and I ended up dedicating it to my mother. And it was the first song that ended up hitting, you know, hundreds of views on my channel. And, you know, I really liked being able to dedicate a song to my mom, because I love my mom. And that was a great experience. It's sitting at over 700 views. And so, you know, it was the doorway. That was the first song that came anywhere close to getting that many views. And I was pretty blown away when I saw that, even though that's still, you know, small potatoes compared to what the actual world of hip-hop is experiencing when it's a large amount of views. Really relatively unknown still. But it was impressive when that happened. That kind of changed my mindscape, and then the way I approached music, I had to evolve a lot during this space of the hundreds, which I want to talk about some later. So, as far as the largest amount of likes, actually, that I've gotten, it was through day 197.
My dreams are no paperweight. I'll burn everything that I know before what's at stake. Follow me, catch me swimming upstream to lay this egg. This rap caviar's controversial like Roe v. Wade. I hold no faith, mankind's more Jake the Snake, clinging to power over others like it makes them great, it makes them weak. Commonly I receive compliments seeped in sentiment like they're better than me. And being a human that breathes, the energy's always halfway poisonous, contaminated. Animalistic rhythms engraved in all their statements. Now I make music for Helen Keller, handing the spell and this water's refreshing. You offer concessions.
Day 197 is one of those songs that's within that list of like childish playfulness, but I'm also having the strong delivery that I listed along with number 2 in the list. It's a great song, and I feel like I'm being a little bit more serious within it, but it's still sort of inspired by try and have a light, playful cadence, try and have strong delivery, and yeah, I thought it was a good song too, but it just wasn't, you know, one of my final picks. But I'm glad that people you know, there were so many likes that I got on that. That makes me feel good. So I appreciate you guys. And then on just YouTube videos, because, you know, with shorts, it makes sense. It's pretty normal for you to get, or it became a normal thing for me to get 400 views after day 133 when I was uploading it at the right time. So I was like, oh, okay, so I can pull that off. That's pretty normal. But I had not gotten any high views throughout any of this series as far as just the regular video, not the short video, the just regular video. And one of the videos ended up getting over 300 views, and that was day 145.
Name one thing out of the billion of encounters you had that'll actually matter. You'll remember 5 years past the fact. I'd say it's a fraction of the endless waste of time you'll provide an interaction. How many times you gonna die before they lower your casket? Where's the power in your lifeblood, baby? Show me your passion. Happy to die for every word I speak. My heart's in my hand, and passing you by to find my turn on the far side of my plans is all I have running through my mind. So pardon the rhymes from my fat lips. I gotta drive till I arrive to take a bite out your gavel. I'm gonna bomb until they call me the captain.
I'm not sure what took place to make day 145 get that high views. I'm not complaining. I'm grateful for that. I think it's a good song. I was kind of actually doing like a Daz Dillinger cadence, which, you know, if you know Dog Pound, maybe more about Snoop Dogg, then you'll know about that. You'll know about that rapper. I certainly know, because I grew up in the 90s, so I know all about Daz. And it was just when I heard the beat, I was like, yeah, I should do like that sort of cadence. And I had fun doing the reason why that's a song that I didn't put in my top list is because, you know, I lost my breath in the middle of it. I think a couple times, actually. And then it was like, the way I was writing, I did a lot of wordplay in there, but I don't know how much that wordplay is even really hitting. I feel like it was like the cadence was exciting, and I was the humana. I was doing like little silly things in there along with just the energy that I kept in it. It was good. It was a good song. And I'm grateful for all the views on it. And yeah, I definitely appreciate it being chosen as one to be receiving more views. So, yeah, day 145. Alright, so at number 1, I picked none other than day 111.
See all your statues of Mammon on the clearance rack, how it happened. I sold my inner peace to the captain. This voyage deploying, no looking back when the mast is raised. The new world's in my gaze. Embrace the rapture, wait while I cast against the waves, everlasting decay. Tell me your price point to become a slave, cause it can be arranged. The taste of flesh will never seem the same. An emptiness when the speakers came. She's free to leave the cage, but see the way she stays. Another needle for the vein while the wars wage. Headlines, we kill our kind in Jesus' name. Sign the dotted line to join the peace brigade. You can keep the change. The free range prison, terms and conditions, a service extension, insurance prevention, the thirst never ending. Why you hold it like that? I set out on this journey for a smile and never came back. Well, let the world eat itself, it's too easy to fast. While they manufacture a perfect flag to circle the ash.
Day 111 is a really strange song, because I heard the beat and I started to map out this very singing-centered song, which I didn't feel like at that point I had done a lot of singing. I had done the I love people so much. There were a couple songs that I had done earlier on, but it just hadn't really come up as much, especially within the last like 10 songs that I had done. And a lot of what I was talking about in there, it felt like very bigger. It felt like I was talking about morality, and so I was doing this very I felt like locked in cadence, locked in. It felt like as I was going through it that the song was already written, and I was like, I don't know what. It just sort of flew out of me. And I just liked how the undertone was so suggestive about human nature, and it's playing with morality, and you know, if you really understand what I'm talking about there, it's seductive, it's questioning morality, it's me leaning into, you know, questions about religion. It's just it's like a weirdly, I think it was a very well executed song, and then also the subject matter I feel like is just really strangely satisfying for me. So that combination put it at number one. I haven't been able to take it out of the number one spot. It's probably my favorite song that I've made through the whole series, pretty sure. And so yeah, that was my pick, was Day 111. I really enjoyed that song. So yeah, that's my top 10 picks for you. And, you know, if you have other ideas of what song you really liked, you can comment if you want. Leave a comment and say, oh, I love this one. That was the one. So I want to get into some other thoughts that I've had in the process of making this. I want to say that going through the 100s into the 200, up to 200, this is the closest that I've come to quitting. The closest I've come to feeling almost complete feeling like the journey is completely meaningless, having a lot of weird existential moments of just overwhelmed, like, what's the point? So getting a lot of apathy, a lot of emotion. You know, I feel like I experienced some of that during the journey in the first 100 songs, but not to the level that I feel like this time through. It's just, it was less about dealing with, you know, the slight, okay, people aren't listening, this or that. It was more just like the fatigue of it. There was just a burnout. And especially I hit a point where I was spending a lot of time on it, and that I couldn't really predict whether or not people were going to like it or not going to like it. And the way that, this is a terrible thing to say, especially in this context, but I want to be honest for documenting purposes, so I can come back to this and look at it later and say, oh, that's an interesting thing. This experience made me start to hate the experience of having fans. Which is a terrible thing to say. And if I was a person that was right, who was good, who was not this emotional, fragile creature, I would never say something like that. I wouldn't. I would just only show gratitude for anybody who was willing to give me their time. But unfortunately, I'm not that wise, and I just get so consumed by seeing the way that people were consuming my music that they would look at, like, there are people who would watch every one of my songs and only like 1 out of 5 songs, you know? And it's like, because I found that out through TikTok, and people would be going through my feed and seeing all of my stuff, and they're just like, well, I only like 1 out of 5 songs, which is like, fuck you, you know? I'm making great songs, and like, you know, there's songs that I agree on that I'm like, oh yeah, that wasn't that good of a song. But it really upsets me where it's a song where I'm like putting a lot of creative energy into it. It's like a really well constructed, well thought out song, and they just, you know, don't like it. I don't get to see on YouTube who's watching and who's not watching. But on TikTok I do get to see it, and then I see that you have people who are spending the time, taking the time to watch every single one of your things and then not like it. And when you're just like so proud of your work and what you've done, and people are doing that, you just, on some level, you wish that they weren't watching it at all. You're like, well, I don't like the idea that you're making me feel like my art isn't a legitimate creation, and that's not great, it's not beautiful, it's not amazing, something to celebrate for. An artist is supposed to be forever grateful for every last fan that they get. And, you know, when I was younger, I used to get confused. I would listen to guys like Eminem and different rappers that would complain about their fans. And I go, what's wrong with them? Why wouldn't they just be grateful to be able to have fans? Like, it would just be great to have a fan. And it makes sense to me now even though I feel like I don't necessarily want to make it seem like fans all are terrible, or even that my emotional reaction to fans is the correct emotional reaction. All I can say is that when I'm putting a lot of effort into a song, and I spend 8 hours potentially, there were periods during this where I spent 8 hours working on a song because I wanted to make sure it was perfect, because I knew I was going to get hundreds of views on it, and you turn that song in, and people see it, and they just don't like it. They don't like it, and you don't get the feedback you're looking for, and, they just listen to all your music and then don't like it. You reach a point where you're like, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this fan thing, because it feels like it's very degrading. One thing I didn't realize about having an audience is how amazingly degrading having an audience could be, which I'm sure has been communicated in so many different ways throughout my life, but experiencing it firsthand is different. And most of the time when I was just freestyling, I'd never really got that many views. And so this is my first encounter with having the world at my heels. There was also the fact that I would dedicate myself to making songs and having these rationales about what I thought about the audience, which is that often it doesn't make sense for people to be as harsh as they are in judgment towards me, because I'm doing something. And not to presume that I know what they're doing with their life, but if I'm making a creative effort, then I'm still pretty close to being doing something that's commendable. It's something that you should, unless you just believe all art is a waste of time, which you're a very specific kind of person. But if you are the type of person that believes all art is a waste of time, and you're watching YouTube shorts or on YouTube, it's I don't know, maybe you're self-hating at that. I think that you're likely to be an Andrew Tate fan that hates himself, because you're not being disciplined watching YouTube. Which there's nothing wrong with not being disciplined. It's if that's the type of personality that you are, but it's weird to be really judgmental and say somebody's art isn't valuable and that they're wasting their time and just shit all over them, but at the same time be somebody who is contributing nothing, and be on the internet giving their time up like that. It's well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't expect people to have perfect perspective about things, and most interactions that have happened with my music, to be fair, have been positive. The vast majority has been positive. Anyway, so I would make songs about these people that, operated with this very harsh criticism, and yet were demonstrating very little discipline, and how philosophically it didn't really make sense, because my contribution, by being a contribution at all, was putting me in a better position than them. And I mean, I would consistently make songs on this subject, and not that I expected that, I'm going to say something, then suddenly everyone's going to go, oh, well, we'll never do that, especially I'm not a well-known entity. So but on some level it was I had this drive to want to almost divinely resolve, no, this is wrong because you're wrong, and I was making these songs trying to come at them with that specific message, to rebuke the nature of what I was seeing philosophically. And it's just something that's a certain level demoralizing or frustrating to experience, where you attempt to address something with a lot of passion, and you continue speaking to it, and you put a lot of time and effort into addressing it as being this wretched, horrid thing, and there's no change, you're going to keep encountering that person who hasn't heard anything you've said thus far and doesn't care and wouldn't listen, and so it's you contributing your thoughts and you having a voice, and it's like you don't have a voice in the dialogue. The only voice you have in the dialogue is what anyone happens to listen, but much more largely, you are not the dialogue, and the world is the dialogue to you. And they're only just hearing bits and pieces from you, but you get to witness the world in your own space, in your own version, much more than the rest of the world is barely hearing you at all, and is going to say the same thing over and over again to you when you put all of your might and thought into addressing a thing that doesn't make sense. And we see this a lot with celebrities that can't get past like a certain rumor or attack, that they'll try and fight it tooth and nail, and it's just like people are just going to say it over and over to them because it's in the context of the internet, the facts don't matter. It's just a matter of, as long as people have the ability to say things to you, they're going to say it. So that was one of the reasons that I started to get really fatigued in this whole journey of doing songs. The other thing is just burnout, just general burnout. It's like Groundhog's Day, making a song every day. You've probably worked a job before where you're just like picking up boxes. You just, here, I gotta pick up boxes, and all day you're just moving boxes. And maybe you gotta like keep inventory and the boxes at the same time. You're just moving, and you're just at this pace of just, that's all you're doing, and that's all you're taking in. And eventually you go, wait, what am I doing? It all just starts to feel like a blur. You're like, I was moving boxes, and then did I write anything down? Or I'm at that stage where it's like, you do a song every day, you get into the blur stage where it's like, your brain is almost like autopilot behaving, and you're not really able to clearly identify the lines anymore, and you're struggling to be able to stay within a place of, I'll be like, have I already done a song like this? Is this creative? I don't know what I'm doing. Is this good? And then your motivation starts to dwindle because you're like, I'm making the same song over and over again. How can I make this original? And for last year, I was like cycling for an hour every day for months and months. I was weightlifting Monday through Friday for like up to nearly 2 hours every day for months and months. And, it was an intense workout. I would really challenge myself. This has been more challenging than that exercise regimen, by far. Because, at least with that, I have clearly defined terms of how the day is going to go. With this, it's like, figure out an open-ended puzzle. Just do it. And, if you want your music to be a high quality, I could come in here and just A, B, C, D, you can see how I am free, blah, 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 da, da, da. I could just rap whatever crap and just hand it over to you and say, look, I did this many days, but I want to make an actual good song every day, a song that I could say, this is a contribution I'd be happy to give to the world. I'm trying to do that every day. And so it's something where that's challenging. It's decently challenging. And so I think between just the challenge of just every day doing it now for 200 days as opposed to just 100 days, which is only doing it for 3 months. Now I'm up to doing it for 6 months straight. And your mind just starts to play with you. And then, so there's also the fact that, the only reason I was getting hundreds of views on the YouTube Shorts, or I get it, is because I upload within certain time windows. If you upload outside of those time windows, you could get just 1 or 2 views. And it started to become I didn't know when I would upload at the exact time windows that I had been getting 100 views, didn't get any views. And it was so views would come and go, I wouldn't know about that. Fans would be fickle, I didn't know about that. Feeling this blur effect, I didn't know about that. And it was just I don't know what I'm doing. This is intense. I'm overwhelmed. And it was interesting because I feel during the hundreds I got overwhelmed, but not by the process of creating music itself. It was just by being open emotionally and exploring my emotions. And then, I did, in the hundreds, I feel I had the dilemma of, when I would post on social media, people weren't as interactive with that. But then it was like, even when I do get fans, it's all very conditional, the experience of fandom. And so it was just, I started to feel crazy. And I think tapping into the, the songs like Day 196 and like that sort of childish energy helped to remedy a lot of that. So I'm grateful for having that solution in mind to be able to come at things differently. I don't know if there's any, I do want to make sure, just again, I appreciate all the beat makers out there. If I end up having success, I don't make any money off of this. And the moment that I do make money, I swear that I will compensate you guys. We're going to figure out, a deal to make sure that you're properly compensated. But while I'm doing this, I'm just trying to get up views. That's all. But thank you again to Ted Roxwell Beats, Dreamy Chillhop, and all of the people that have been supportive of me using their beats, and all the people who do tune in, Mom, Dad, Milana, the handful of people that are, die-hard J supporters, or some guy supporters. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you guys. And I look forward to you guys being on the journey with me for the next 166 songs. So, all right, this is some guy signing off. Thank you.